YouTube, what's going on? Bear vs. Wolf here. My name is Matt. If you're new to the channel, all things music here. A lot of drum videos, a lot of guitar videos, a little bit of covers, a little bit of everything. And got some original music coming out soon. Dropping pretty quick here. So just have a quick pentatonic video for you today, or about pentatonic. If you've ever had trouble connecting your pentatonics, moving laterally, a lot of people play up and down the fretboard. Right, and then you move to the next box, that kind of thing. If you have trouble connecting them, here's a little kind of a trick that I've kind of been working on lately to maybe help you do that. So it can be a little bit tricky to memorize all 5 boxes at a time and connect them and move through them seamlessly, which is a lot of what a lot of the better players are doing. But if you can break it into little chunks, it can be a little bit easier to manage. So what I kind of got going on here is this little pattern that I'm noticing between each 2 sets of strings. We're going to start on the highest 2 strings. We're on the E minor pentatonic, right? Works up here, right? Pretty much everybody familiar with that. If you're not, Google E minor pentatonic. I consider this box number 1, starts on the root of E, playing over a lot of E minor blues or E minor rock type of stuff. So there's a little pattern that's kind of on each set of 2 strings that I'm starting to notice. And here's basically how it works. So if you're thinking the top 2 strings, open, 3rd fret, open, 3rd fret, right? That is a 3rd in musical terms, but for us, it's just 3 frets, open, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to call that the stacked thirds part of the pattern. The next box has stacked seconds. If you were to just bar 2, they're over each other. Now here, this is a second in musical terms, 2 frets for us. The next string, the E string, has 2 frets as well. So we got, so now if you connect those, you get stacked thirds, then stacked seconds. Now we have what I call like sort of intertwined. You have this sort of shape where you have a stack. We're going from the 5th fret now on the B string. You have a 3rd to a 2nd. So it's sort of like a Tetris piece now. The next set of them is a 2nd. We're on the 8th fret now, and then a 3rd. So that looks like this. And then on the outsides of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets away, is kind of the walls of that piece of material there. You have the 5th fret in this case, and then the 10th fret. So that looks again like that. 3rd to 2nd, and now 2nd to 3rd. And then you finish with stacked seconds again. 10, 12, 10, 12. So in practice, you can combine all that stuff. We go stack thirds, stack seconds, the intertwine. So we have 3rd to 2nd, then 2nd to 3rd, and then seconds again. Now, if you kind of start the pattern here, it depends on how you want to see this in your mind's eye. We have stacked seconds behind the, okay, so now we're kind of behind the pattern on the 12th fret that we were using an octave lower in the open, position here. So now if you think behind that, we start stacked seconds, 10 to 12, stacked thirds, stacked seconds, which is kind of cool. For getting through little patterns, you can see that really easily. And you can move through those really easily. Now, after the stacked seconds comes the interlocking again. I'm getting out of camera, but you have the 3rd on top, 2nd on the bottom, and then the 2nd, and then the 3rd on top, so you can get through one more set of those all the way up. So really quickly go through it. Stack thirds, stack seconds, interlocking, 3rd on top, interlocking second on top, stack seconds, stack thirds, stack seconds, interlocking, and you're through. So really kind of a cool little pattern. Now what's really cool about this, so you can kind of think of it as seconds, thirds, seconds, and then the interlocking patterns, right? That's how I think about it in my mind. I know we're starting on the thirds here, so we're going thirds, seconds, interlocking seconds, but that's how I sort of package it in my brain. What's very cool is that was the E and the B string. Now the middle two strings, the G and the D, or the third and the fourth string, have that exact same pattern, which is great. It just starts in a different place like the pentatonics generally do. So we're starting with the stack seconds here. I'm open, fret 2, open, fret 2. Okay, we're on the second set of seconds, the way I think of it in my mind. So now we're going to interlocking next. So third on top. So what comes next is a second to third, interlocking. Then we go stack seconds. We're on fret 7 by now. Then we go stack thirds, stack seconds, interlocking, stack seconds, and we're out of room on this guitar. So, stack seconds, interlock, stack seconds, thirds, seconds. Very cool. Let's do the last two strings. Open A and open E, so fifth and sixth strings. In this E pattern, we're starting with the interlock, what I call the interlocking sets here. So it starts with a third, open to third fret, then we go open second. So the next part of the interlocking starts on fret 3, step, and then third below. Okay, so interlocking right off the bat, then we go seconds, thirds, seconds. This is a great one to sort of see it across the fretboard, and I'll have diagrams on screen for you. So open second. Oh, sorry, third seconds. Now we go seconds to a third. Stack seconds. Stack thirds. Stack seconds. Interlocking thirds to 2. Getting off camera a little bit. And you back up. So now you have this pattern that gets you all the way across the fretboard, not only on one string or two strings, but all of the strings. So if you can remember this pattern, again, in my mind, I think seconds, thirds, seconds, interlocked. The third on the top comes first in the interlocking pattern, so third to second. So now I've got this lick, instead of just being stuck. All right, what do I do? Now I know I can move over. We're on thirds. We go seconds. Interlocking. Stack seconds. Thirds. Right? I can do it here. Seconds. Interlocking. Seconds. Thirds. Seconds. Interlocking. Seconds. We can do it up here. Start on the interlocking. Seconds. Thirds. Seconds. Interlock. And I have this little pathway to get me through stuff if I maybe kind of stuck. I'm out of ideas, but I know I've got interlocking coming up. So second. Right? So I'm sort of calling it like the three sort of like pentatonic highways. You've got a highway on the first two strings, highway on the middle two strings, and the highway on the low two strings, the biggest two strings. Pretty cool stuff. I'm finding it very useful for just traveling what I call laterally, you know, left and right on the fretboard without getting stuck. Now I have this like little package of information sort of in my head to get me up the fretboard and down. So I haven't really seen anybody sort of talk about that. It kind of clicked for me that that pattern exists across all of the strings the other day. I've been using it on the top two strings, but that really kind of opened things up for me to get me moving across the board a little bit rather than thinking in one box, next box, next box. Now, once you get to the next box, you have to then know what box you're in, obviously. So that takes a little bit more knowledge to get there. But if you just need to get yourself moving, you could use it all the way up the board to get to the next octave. Thirds, seconds, interlocking, seconds, thirds, and now you're back to that box that most people feel most at home with, I think, on the 12th fret there. So, all right, gonna wrap it up there. So, Pentatonic Highways, kind of my little name for it. So, hopefully that helps you move across the neck. Hopefully that opens a few doors for some folks. Appreciate you watching, and thanks for tuning in. Bear vs. Wolf. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.